Welcome back to Mount Panorama for the inaugural running of the Nascar 100. How would you like to arm wrestle one of these things around this circuit for 16 laps with a compulsory pit stop? These boys have got their work cut out for them. Our commentators have got their work cut out for them as well. Let's meet them. David Tapp, Alan Moffat and Brad Jones. How are you going, guys? This will test your skill.
Yes, and we want you riding shotgun with us, Gary.
There's no doubt about it. The biggest question being asked is how many laps into the race before the NASCAR's brakes run out. Bradley Jones, you're a former national champion. You've got to have some clues.
Well, I've been wandering around the pits talking to a few of the guys, and goes from we won't run out of brakes to 5 or 6. So I think a few of them will run out of brakes. I remember when we ran our NASCAR up here, it was quite a tough area.
They might not run out, but they might just press them a little earlier than they were on the first lap later.
Well, I'd say so.
Well, the drivers will be very conscious of that fact and hence looking after them accordingly, the brakes. And here's the starting grid for you. Russell Ingall, his first meeting in a NASCAR, and he's going to be campaigning the Chev Monte Carlo for the entire NASCAR season. He's on pole. Todd Waddle on the outside of him, front row. Matthew White and Terry Wyhoon sharing the second row of the grid. I should also mention this is a rolling start, this NASCAR event over 16 laps. Brewer and Lance on the third row. Row 4 occupied by Ken James and Albernica, also in the Chevy Monte Carlo. The fifth row, Graham Smith and Rodney Jane. Terry Byers and Bob Middleton sharing the sixth row. And finally, on row 7, rounding out a 13-car field, is Kim Jane in the Chev Monte Carlo. They certainly sound fantastic. 700 horsepower. Real thunder at the mountain this weekend. The inaugural NASCAR 100-kilometre event, 16 laps. And there will be a compulsory pit stop in this event. And as a result, we have Pat Wells down there. G'day, Pat.
Pappy, how are you? Are you enjoying it up there in the comfort of the commentary box? Because it is going to be very, very noisy down here. I'm pleased I've got these on this afternoon.
Most certainly, and a little warm down there as well, so look after yourself.
Oh, conditions absolutely ideal, just a slight breeze. The crowd has built up quite nicely around here, and I think they're going to discover very quickly, if they haven't been here for any of the practice sessions, that they are going to need some sort of ear protection. But as Brad and the boys were saying, it's going to be a lot of fun just seeing how long these cars will go and how far their brakes will survive this afternoon. But I'll be down here to keep an eye on all the action for you.
Thank you, Pat. Let's now take a look at some of the qualifying in NASCAR yesterday.
Here's a fellow that didn't make turn 1, the left-hander up Mountain Straight. He elected to go straight ahead. Not the only one, I might add, but this one was even more difficult down in Forest Elbow. Beautifully
never landed.
Saved,
yep.
You might say.
And there's Rodney Jane. Looks like he's got a little bit of a fire going there.
A little bit of a flame up, but he restarted it, and they towed him out.
Here's Matthew White again, just coming down through the chase. Long, hard break down there. Beautifully presented car. A little bit of fuel wisping out the back of it there.
That's Todd Wanless in car 24. He's done it getting sideways there. He's done an outstanding job this weekend to qualify second fastest.
He has done a really good job.
Knows very little about Mount Panorama. And that is Russell Ingall in car 34, the man that will start this race on pole. Rolling start as they now cruise down the hill.
Yeah, American-style rolling start, not a bad idea. Something we've never, ever incorporated in our motorsport in Australia, but very big time in America, where this class originated. Fantastically popular in America, David. The crowds that go to this type of racing in southern states.
And the great thing about a rolling start is it really takes a lot of the load off the drivetrain and such, so you don't have to worry about the bad start so much. They all bunch up nicely here and you get a nice clear run. These things have so much horsepower that when you step on the gas in first or second gear like they'll be doing, you can still break into a bit of wheel spin. So awesome car to drive.
All right, the start is now imminent for the inaugural NASCAR 100. With Russell Ingall, your pole sitter, away they go. Todd Wanless began very quickly on the outside. The former Australian Speedway Sprint Car champion, side by side through turn number 1. And gee, Wanless is matching it with our pole sitter, Russell Ingall, as they head up Mountain Straight the first time, and this is going to be hairy.
Yeah,
it will be.
Ingall held his line there. He wasn't about to let Wanless get the slightest gap on him, but anything can happen now. If Todd stays on the inside, now there he goes. Russell, too smart for that. He got clearly in front. He wouldn't want a car alongside him for this first right-hander, Brad.
Hey, that's true. And what we've got is Russell just got the slightest of buffers here at the moment. But one to look for at the back that we see in the middle of the pack now is Kim Jane, the current NASCAR champion who had a bit of bad luck yesterday, a few troubles with the gearbox. started off the back of the field and already picked his way through to the middle of this pack.
Yeah, on the day before yesterday, he was actually matching times with Russell Ingall, and it was a pity that he didn't qualify in a position that was more in keeping with his actual lap times. But let's see him fight through here. As you've mentioned, he should come into picture just about now. Yes, in the back there.
The other interesting thing about these cars is they really didn't have much of a warm-up lap, which is exactly what. There we have...
Todd Wanless and the ABC Spares parts entry gone.
He might have been getting a bit excited about his being competitive with Russell Ingall. He knew Ingall was the one to match. He was close to him in qualifying on a 2:24, but certainly put paid to his chances there. You've got to stay with it on the opening lap, Brad.
Oh, exactly right. And you notice as that car was spinning, there's a yellow stripe across the rear bumper bar, which designates Todd Wanless as a rookie, and you need to carry that for a year. So when they come up behind you, they know what they're dealing with. And fortunately for Tom,
well, it's always a pity to lose a chance to get 16 laps, but he's going to have to park it today. He's recovered all right, thank God for the sand pit. Never used to be there for many, many years. I don't know what a lot of us did getting through there when something like that happened, but that is a hairy corner, and Todd Wanless out of the race, unfortunately. His dad won't be pleased with that performance.
No, he certainly won't. Terry Wyhoon was very close to him, our second place gear at the moment, and I looked at the back of Todd's car when he stopped, and it didn't look like there was a touch, but he certainly went from the inside of the track to the outside very quickly. But anyway, here we have Russell Ingall. Oh, Ken James there. A little bit of moment coming out of the chase.
So Russell Ingall, our race leader, blasts across the start-finish line to complete the first of 16 laps as a result of the unfortunate demise of Todd Wanless. Wyhoon in the BP car care entry moves up one spot. He just went through. Driver of the Pennzoil car is Marshall Brewer, another one of the many Victorians contesting this event.
Marshall's one of the guys that have been in this sport right from the start. Marshall's been in Oscar for a number of years, and last year he's dabbled in Nascar a little bit, but last year he took the step to get a full-time Nascar, and he's doing a very, very good job. The car's beautifully presented, and he's working away at it very hard. These aren't an easy thing to do, and a lot of these drivers are used to the ovals. We've got Kim Jane behind him now looking for a pass.
Yes, I think Kim, based on his lap time of a 2:20 on Thursday, will certainly have a chance of fighting his way through as long as he's careful passing traffic. He seemed to come to grips with the circuit quite efficiently because he was the only one to match or come very close within a second of Russell Ingall.
And he's doing it very sensibly here. He isn't having a big lunge at him in places where it's a marginal call to get by. He's biding his time and picking them off one at a time. He's in no rush to get to Russell. Well, I mean, as much as you would like to be. He's just being really, really sensible, which is great for Kim. He's showing newfound maturity the last couple of years in NASCAR racing, and with John Sidney's help, this is the result of it.
So a good battle.
He's only 31, mate. He's got a, he's got a way to, I like that term, newfound maturity. That's very good, Brad.
Well, Kim and I have locked horns a little bit with our Oscar.
Oh, I never knew that. I never knew that.
You meant self-preservation. He's learned the art of self-preservation.
So here we are on Conrad. He'll slip in here behind Marshall Brewer. He'll be looking. He hasn't even had to slip in. He's pulled out already. As Brad has said, he wasn't taking any chances across the top of the mountain.
Wow.
Now he's just fading left to make sure that Brewer doesn't get any advantage from him. But 700 horsepower coming down this main straight, nothing to be too shabby. Those fellows will be looking at these chicane corners. So Kim Jane coming down to Murray's corner. Good old Murray's corner.
The top speed of these 1,500-kilo NASCARs, 290 kilometres an hour down Conrod Straight. There's Russell Ingall, your race leader, who has extended his lead quite significantly. He led by 2.2 seconds at the end of lap 1. Now it's out to 3.9 seconds.
Maximum capacity in this class is 358 cubic inches, which translates to 5.9 liters, and Russell Ingall's 6 liters sounds awfully nice off a single 4-barrel. This is an American tradition. We've lost one in turn 1. The yellow flags are up. We'll pick that up shortly, but just back to Russell Ingall. His engine is sounding particularly strong. Did a lot of laps in qualifying. I know he's got the car going the way he wants. Rodney Jane causing a traffic jam on turn 1. Just the exit from pit straight.
You see all the sand he's dropped on the circuit there as he's backing back out of the sand pit. Oh, it's not too bad. There's just a little bit there, so I doubt that that'll cause him much problems next time around. But They don't have a great lock on these, Alan. They need to back and go forward a little bit to get around. Russell Ingall, our leader again. Russell's working the car very nicely.
We're taking a look at the top 5 race score. Right about now, Russell Ingall, a clear-cut leader at this stage of proceedings. Terry Waihoon runs second on the racetrack, ahead of Matthew White, Kim Jane, Marshall Brewer, rounding up the top 5 after 2 laps. Nice to have your company. Welcome back to Mount Panorama Bathurst, the inaugural 100-kilometre Nascar event. And as we welcome you back, we're on lap 4 of 16, where Russell Ingall continues to lead this one in fairly comprehensive fashion. Now leads by 5.5 seconds to his nearest challenger, that man currently on screen, Kim Jane.
Well, Kim Jane's done a very, very good job, which is more than car 3. Rodney Jane hasn't made it back to the pits after that spin on turn 1.
Actually, Alan, looks like he's rolled back into the concrete wall there. Yes. He must have just started to crest the hill, and he's tried to park the thing out of the way there and landed up against the wall. Obviously got transmission problems, can't get himself out of the way. That'll be up to the clerk, of course, to decide whether that car needs to be moved. But really a pity for Kim Jane to have worked so hard from the back of the field on his attack against Russell Ingall. He really was the only driver to be within cooey of Ingall's pole time, and had he started second on the grid, it might have been a different race here this morning. I don't think Russell Ingall would have been shedding a tear over the fact that Kim had qualifying problems, didn't get the car qualified at all by his own standard, but doing very nicely now. Terry Waihoon on screen, number 25 from South Gippsland in Victoria, a good stalwart of the class. He first ran Thunderdome in '89. He's knows these cars very intimately and doing a good job. Put a lot of laps in practice. I think he got his eye in as well as anybody in the field, but sitting in 3rd spot at the moment as he goes up under the snap-on bridge.
Kim Jane, gentlemen, is making some progress. He's been able to lead, or rather eat into Ingall's lead by some half a second. Ingall, mind you, still leading by 5 seconds, but Kim Jane is giving it a really big go. The Ford Thunderbird, the BP entry of Terry Waihoon, charges across the top of the mountain. Oh, getting very loose there.
Having a go. And I'm a little surprised they haven't brought the pace car out to move that car, Rodney James.
It's in a hairy spot. You must admit, you want to place your car where he is at the moment.
Exactly, and I mean, things might change as the race ticks by a little bit, but I would have thought that's a good opportunity to get that car out of the way.
This is the first round of the Australian NASCAR Championship for the season of 98-99. These cars obviously contest the majority of their season on the high-banked Calder Park Thunderdome in Victoria. It is quite a spectacle, I can assure you. Nice camera work as Kim Jane prepares to run down the mountain.
I don't know about you, Brad, but I think Kim is trying to let a few people know that he can really drive this car and he can drive this circuit. As we both know, this is no chicken run around here. These cars aren't admirably suited to this type of racing. They are designed for the super speedways with the high banks, and as such, I think Kim's doing a superb job here.
Oh, I think he is. He certainly got the car by the scruff of the neck. We raced our cars up here in '96. We did a little demonstration run when I was still competing in the class, and I can tell you, coming into the chase where he is now, that's a long break. You certainly can't go through that corner flat like you can in the super touring cars. You're touching 300 Ks coming into there, so Kim's got it by the scruff of the neck. We saw him get a bit sideways out of the cutting, which indicates to us he's having a real go at this. Oh, he's run a little wide there.
Wide there. He didn't judge that well. That's probably a little brake fade, do you think?
I think probably a little brake fade, and also the tyres, Alan, they've got to be starting to feel the pressure a little bit now with all that horsepower running through them. They're heading on to 5-6 laps, so everything could be starting to get a little hot and bothered by now.
More sidewall action on those good years than they've seen normally at Calder, you think?
Well, I dare say.
Race control, by the way, have notified us there will be no pace car. Because of that reason, Rodney Jane stranded in a precarious position, as Alan Moffat and Bradley Jones alluded to, but race control confirming they don't deem it necessary to utilise the pace car at this stage of proceedings. And talking about the Goodyear tyres that these NASCARs are running as a part of their compulsory pit stop, somewhere between laps 10 and 12 in this event, as a mandatory measure, they're all going to be forced to change their rear tyres on front and rather their right-hand side tyres on rear and front. And this is now on board with Russell Ingall, our race leader.
He's coming through McPhillamy, just touching the curb on the left-hand side, got left-hand drive, so he can see that curb quite well, but now it starts to get a bit exciting. Brad, this view's not really for the faint-hearted. Just clipping the wall here, and now we're going to lunge into the Firestone Dipper. He's taking it easy on the car there from what we can hear through our headphones.
There has been a spin on the top of the mountain. Here's another look at it.
Oh, this one's nasty.
Dear me, Ken James.
Yep. He's got wide there, and it might have actually been unsettling for him to pass Rodney Jane's car. He has gone wide through that corner, Brad, and hit the wall. He had no room to go.
And giving it a decent clout. The thing about the Rodney Jane car is even though it looks like it's well over to the inside, it takes away part of your vision as you turn into that corner there, and
just
because you're
upsetting.
almost flat. Yeah, it just puts you off a little bit.
So back onto Russell Ingall, who certainly knows how to win around this circuit. Co-driving with Larry Perkins, some superb wins here. Oh, Kim James is perhaps getting a little stretched here in his ambitions to catch Russell.
Yes, was able to rectify it and get back on track, which was fortuitous for him. Ingall reels off yet another lap. That's the completion of lap 6 for him.
Russell knows he's got the Moz on the circuit. He's got a good car. He had plenty of practice laps yesterday. He was fastest in practice. Now it's up to him just to pick the degree of conservatism that he can lay into this. Just try and save the car a little bit, because we certainly have Kim James a fair gap back at this stage, followed by Terry Wyhoon and Matthew White.
In fact, Alan, that little off-track we saw with Kim James a moment ago has cost him dearly. He's now 9.1 seconds behind our leader, Russell Ingall. Then a gap of a further 5.9 seconds between second and third, Kim James and Terry Wyhoon. So they are starting to spread out in no uncertain terms. This looks to be Neville Lance charging up Mountain Straight, the West Australian. One of the many drivers in NASCAR that combines this sort of racing with short-track quarter-mile speedway. In fact, he's a fairly efficient midget or speed car driver. And Todd Wanless, who we saw spin after half a lap, he's about to jump in his road car and head down and drive a sprint car tonight at Parramatta Speedway. So they're busy boys.
They certainly, the speedway side of this sport certainly keep themselves busy. Max Dumsney never ceases to surprise me when we were racing with the NASCARs, and he'd be off here there one night and then back to race the car during the day of practice, and they run a very hectic schedule, and they do a great job. Kim would be a bit disappointed at this point in time. You still see that car moving around. He's done the fastest lap of the race, but he was so sensible getting through the traffic, and now he's just driving it that little bit too hard. I think if John Sidney's watching this on TV, he'll be on the radio saying, "Hey Kim, you know, just calm it all down and let's just see what unfolds here," because at the moment he's taking a couple of unnecessary risks, I think, with the car.
He may risk coming second, whereas Russell is not likely to make a mistake at this stage.
No,
but
that's
not beyond some other mechanical problem.
Okay, at this juncture, let's take a look at the top 5 race score. Russell Ingall doing it comfortably out in front. Kim James in second place, 9 seconds behind. Then back to Terry Wyhoon in the BP entry. He runs third in the Ford Thunderbird in the Chevy Monte Carlo of Matthew White. And Marshall Brewer, also in a Monte Carlo, running 5th on the racetrack as we take a break from Mount Panorama. Stay with us. Words of wisdom from Mark Adderton. Thank you very much for that, Mark, the explanation of a pinging engine. And as we welcome you back to Mount Panorama Bathurst, we're on lap 8 of this 16-lap NASCAR 100. And that's the man cruising out in front, Russell Ingall, touring car supremo turned NASCAR driver this weekend. And he will be campaigning this car for the entire national championship in 1998-99.
Yeah, well, that'll keep him busy. And he's certainly busy here today. He's actually pushing it harder than I would have thought was necessary, Brad. He's certainly got a comfortable lead over Kim James, but he's taking this on as if there's a sheep farm at stake.
He is. I mean, Russell's a fantastic driver, knows his way around here, there's no doubt about that, but he's got a 10-second lead or a 9-second lead to Kim Jane, and really I would have thought he's almost in the mode where he should be just cruising along, saving the brakes a little, and keeping out of trouble. He's got a long season ahead of him in that car. It'll be fantastic for him to win here because he'll lead the championship into the oval tracks, but he'll find it a different kettle of fish when he ventures onto the Thunderdome to handle that car. Oh, Bob Middleton there just a bit sideways behind Kim Jane.
This is our third place man, Terry Waihoon, in the BP entry. About to approach Murray's corner. A little bit of drama there. There's Ingle. That's the completion of his 9th lap. If you may have just joined us, it's appropriate to remind you there will be a compulsory pit stop in this race somewhere between laps 10 and 12 when all teams will be required to change the tyres on the right-hand side of the car. Ingle commences his 10th lap now as he charges up Mountain Straight, leading by 9.1 seconds.
Yeah, Russell's got something loose underneath. It may be, let's hope, only a brake duct, but that might not be too handy for one of the rear brakes. But this is the type of thing that Clark, of course, get very upset about or get nervous about. It does look like just a brake hose, not the hydraulic type, but just the air hose. Brad, if you can guess better.
Yep, no, I think you're exactly right. We can just see that under the car dragging, Alan, and what it has is two big truck arms that run to the middle of the car, and the suspension and differential is all bolted to that. And what these cars tend to do is run a huge piece of ducting along that truck arm and around to the brake caliper. And I think what's happened is when he skipped over a curb, he's just probably torn a couple of the cable ties off that are holding that in place, and he's just got a bit of the brake duct dragging on the ground under the car. We see it flapping there, so let's hope that's all it is.
Pit crews are now standing by in pit lane. Pat Welsh is down in the pits, and we'll be talking to him shortly with the action of that mandatory pit stop. Russell Ingle continues to lead. Kim Jane is second, followed by Terry Waihoon, then White and Brewer. That's the top 5 on the racetrack for you. And you've really got to ask the question now, Brad Jones, how are the brakes on these cars?
Well, I'd say
9 laps?
I'd say they'd be looking forward to coming into the pits and getting a bit of a break. The other thing that we haven't really discussed is when they come into the pits, they'll stop and they'll get a bit of heat soak into the brakes.
Yes, this is a bit nice. See, the pedal goes a bit soggy.
Exactly right. They get, you know, it'll heat up the fluid a little bit, maybe get a bit of air in there, and just make that pedal a little bit worse. And instead of helping like you think it would, it won't. It'll hinder the progress of the cars. Kim Jane with the glove box on fire there, and he'd be lucky to stop that thing.
Yes, he's really having a bit of trouble now. I think Kim may have overextended his car to get up into second place. It was a tough job to have to go from the rear of the field all the way up to second. He did that very, very well, but he's decided to come in on this lap. One of the things we won't see is the car going up in its entirety. There are no onboard jacks in this class. You'll see a mechanic run around to the outside of the car and slap a floor jack in the middle of the car and pump like crazy. There he is now. Pump, 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 as...
2 pumps and that car will be up. Those jacks are aluminium and they weigh 11 pounds. It's amazing how they do it all.
A little bit of juice going in there with the handheld churn. There'll be about 40 litres capacity in those churns, but wouldn't need much more than that, we don't think.
Now, Alan, this is where Kim Jane can make up some of his time. They're going at it, these two, previously. They've got the rear wheel on. No, Ingle, just got the nuts done up there, and he's away. Kim Jane's car's down. How about that? He stalled the car. Oh, there he goes, and he is right.
Quick thinking pit crew there, Brad. They jumped on and helped push it. Lots of mechanics I've seen standing at attention but not actually moving when their car is in trouble. That Kim Jane crew helped him there. Got him back out on the track.
This is where Russell's experience will come. He's been in this situation before. He had a very, very nice lead and it's gone. He'll just hopefully settle down, calm the whole thing down, have a look at where Kim is and just press on. Kim's a guy that's
he's trying hard.
Just trying a little bit too hard, I think. They've got cold tyres on their car, and he's not going to catch him in the lap.
Terry Waihoon, meantime, has also pitted and back out on the racetrack, not that far behind the leading duo of Jane. Obviously, Ingle up front leading this event, and they're about midway through lap 10 of 16.
Well, Russell will know that he's got experience on his side. He's car 9 in for his mandatory stop.
Eddie Albanica.
Good number 9. He's got to have luck on his side with a number like that, at least, you'd think, wouldn't you?
You would think so. The interesting thing about those pit stop, Alan, is unlike the cars of today where they have the single nut, they've got the 5 tiny nuts and they glue them on with Goa glue. So when they push them on, the nuts stay at the end of the stud and then they just zap them up with a little rattle gun.
Yes, it's quite impressive. It's a rule that's been dragged over from the American style, and nothing wrong with it at all. We're very sophisticated with our pit stops, being able to do something like that, 4 tires.
Oh, here's Kim Jane. Look at this.
Oh, he's really lunching in here. Careful.
Doing the right.
Oh,
Neville Lance is on a footfall.
This is what happens.
Oh, goodness.
No.
This is what happens. It's you have to be careful when you're passing cars. And now Kim Jane has thrown that tactical position he had over Russell Ingall. No fault there of the King Cool car. He was only doing his bit, but he did punch it a little bit too severely, coming on a forced elbow.
The back went sideways. We might try and get another look at that. Here's Jane charging up the inside.
Someone's off here. There's a whole heap of dust and dirt there, it looks like.
And
off again.
Yes, he's really got a case of Russell Ingallitis, and he's trying extremely hard to get on that back bumper bar.
Neville Lance in the Auto Pro.
That incident again. Here we go. Perfect.
So
Neville Lance is here now. You watch Neville here, Alan. I reckon he gasses the thing up a bit too hard. Kim's sort of in there. I don't know that they touch. Neville's on the gas.
Yes, exactly. He has overpowered it. Classic power oversteer when we want to talk in technical terms, but just getting too much power into those back wheels. He may have been a little unsettled with Kim alongside him, but I don't believe he did it intentionally, that's for sure.
Marshall Brewer's Pennzoil entry in the pits.
Tires on the right side only.
And we see the mark on the side of Neville's car when we pan back there, just where where Kim Jane and he have made contact. It's these cars only have 4-speed gearboxes, a lot of horsepower. When you get on the throttle, when the tires are all a little bit second-hand, the back tends to liven up and get a bit of wheel spin and, of course, step out. So, you know, I guess, as they say, that's racing, Alan.
Exactly, mate.
So the Auto Pro Royal Purple Motors Oil entry of Neville Lance makes his way back onto the racetrack as we focus our attention on the man up front, Russell Ingall.
On lap 11, across the top again. Here he is on the approach to McPhillamy, the fast left-hander. He'll have a nice clear sky in front of him now. I think he'd be thinking about that brake pedal right about now. Yeah. There she goes, down a gear. And I must say, Russell's very comfortable going through this part of the circuit. Much more comfortable than a lot of his compatriots were earlier in practice. But here he is roaring that big Chevy engine down to Forest Elbow. He'll tuck in left here as tight as he can. A little bit cautious there on the gas pedal. Nothing wrong with that at this stage of the game. And they're the best sight in Australian motorsport, Conrod Straight. And opening it up with this kind of horsepower, I think he'd feel fairly exhilarated about now.
He certainly would. Russ will be having a bit of a drink, maybe a chat to the guys in the pits on the radio, trying to see what the gap is to Kim Jane. Get his head down. You hear him lift way before the chase. It's because these cars are going so fast and they have such tiny brakes. They only have 15-inch wheels on these cars, so the brake caliper and disc is quite small, probably every bit as small, if not smaller than a road car.
Yeah, just sort of brakes for the speedway conditions on the banked ovals. You only just dab them occasionally on the ovals, don't you?
Well, you get into them a little bit, but nothing like you would on a road circuit, and they're just not built for this, really, but they do a fantastic job. It's a great category in America. More people watch NASCAR than they do anywhere in the world.
Well, than they do football or baseball, I might add.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful success story, NASCAR racing in the States. Let's now take you down to the pits where Pat Welsh is standing by. He'll talk with Scott Williams, the team manager of Russell Ingall's car.
The team owner as well, David, and very nervous at the moment. Have you been just talking to Russell?
Yeah, we had a slow stop there, had a bit of a trouble with the rear tyre and lost about 5 seconds on Kim. But Kim got involved in that little bit of a thing there, and we've just managed to open it up a little bit. And we can see that he's using the brakes a lot more than us, so we're hopeful that we can keep on moving up.
First time we've seen these cars racing here. It's wild and woolly stuff, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome. They're fairly quick up the top, and Russell was saying just he couldn't believe how much power they had going up the hill.
They chew quite a deal of fuel. We noticed not only do they take the 2 outside tyres, but a fuel stop as well, because if they went the 16 laps, there'd only be about 4 litres of the 80 litres left.
We ran a full race distance in practice the other day. I think we were one of only 2 people to do that, and Russell said his quickest time on the last lap. We knew the tyres were up to it, but he said it cut out 3 times over the top of the hill, and it took just over 4 litres.
All right, I know you're nervously watching the screens here. I think your team is on the verge of making history at Mount Panorama. Scott, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
Well, I think it's Russell Ingall that wants to make history. He's still hammering this car, Brad. He's not fooling around. Did you see he was there right over the white line to get a little better angle coming past Kim Jane's stalled car.
Let's check them now on the race score. At the completion of 12 laps, it is Russell Ingall in the Chevy Monte Carlo, leading easily. Kim Jane in second, then Terry Waihoon third on the racetrack, followed by Matthew White. Marshall Brewer in the Pennzoil entry is still hanging in there. Why don't you hang in there too as we take a break from Mount Panorama? About 2.5 laps now remaining in the inaugural NASCAR 100 as we welcome you back to Mount Panorama Bathurst. And you're watching Terry Waihoon in the BP Ford Thunderbird, currently running third on the racetrack. And he may find himself under some pressure now from Matthew White, who you can see just at the bottom of your screen launching something of an attack.
Just a young man from Melbourne, and I'd say I'd like to have that problem. Just a young man, 24. Doing very well, I would say, Brad, to be 24 years of age and at Bathurst is an achievement in itself, but a NASCAR at Bathurst.
Waihoon's off.
Terry Waihoon, he's off. I think they're certainly at the point now where they're starting to be wanting for breaks, and there goes Matthew. This is Matthew's first race in a NASCAR.
Well, he's done well here to grab third, and that'll give him a podium in his first race. And as I was saying, if he's only 24 and got this experience under his belt, he obviously will have a career in front of him.
Well, Matthew's been the Oscar champion, so he knows his way around the Thunderdome, and look forward to stepping up into these cars. He, I don't think he's planning to do the whole season yet, but I think if he gets a good result here, anything can spur you on.
Exactly.
They don't all run exactly the same cars here as they run on the Thunderdome. Some of these guys have 2 cars, and they'll have one that's all set up square so it can turn left and right. They'll have another one at home in the workshop that will only just turn left. So I think Terry Waihoon's one of the guys that actually only has 1 car, so they've set that up to come here and do this race. But he's hurting for speed a little bit. I think he's out of brakes.
Yeah, he's got some problems, Terry Waihoon. Noticeable, the race car using all of the track and then some more. So subsequently, he falls back one spot. He'd be angry about that because he was making a fairly good charge in this race where Russell Ingall is leading by 5.3 seconds to Kim Jane in second spot. Magnificent aerial shot of this glorious circuit at Mount Panorama as these NASCARs, all 1,500 kilograms of them, race across the top.
And this circuit is hard enough just placing your car, but to be trying to place it without any brakes.
Okay, let's check proceedings with our top 5 race score for you. Russell Ingall maintains an emphatic lead at this stage of proceedings. Kim Jane is still second. Matthew White is the mover. He's now running third. Waihoon fourth on the racetrack. And the Pennzoil Chevy Monte Carlo of Marshall Brewer. As we welcome you back to Bathurst in glorious weather conditions, that man on screen, Russell Ingall, is approaching the checkered flag in the inaugural NASCAR 100. And only a couple of corners left for him to negotiate the Victorian. It's been a big performance by him. First real hit out in the NASCAR, and has asserted his superiority in no uncertain terms, and is going to win this by about 6.5 seconds.
He's driven it beautifully. He practiced well, had a couple of little moments, nothing to worry, hasn't hurt the car at all, tuned it to his way of driving, and has done a superb job here this afternoon.
Here he comes now down through Murray's Corner for the final time. Car number 34, the Vision Fireworks King entry, and Russell Ingall is the winner of the 1998 NASCAR 100 at Mount Panorama. Kim Jane will follow him across the line in the Bob Jane T-Mart's entry to pick up second place after a spirited drive. And young Matthew White from Victoria, the driver of car 28, will come across the line in third spot, about 15 seconds behind our eventual winner. There's the second place man, Jane. Here's White. Checkered flags, 2 of them for him, and that's a big moment for him to finish on the podium at Mount Panorama. Plenty of action, a real attitude, these cars. Noticeable, they were running out of brakes. Suffice to say, the drivers would be a little tired, wrestling 1,500 kilograms of NASCAR around the mountain over 16 laps, and a lot of the cars getting right out of shape in the latter stages of that 16-lap NASCAR journey.
I think Kim Jane would probably be a little disappointed. He was right on Russell Ingall. He finished 4 seconds behind him, but I think Russell probably took it a bit easy on that last lap. But 4 seconds is the difference between having that coming together with Neville Lance and not really. And here we have Marshall Brewer just crossing the line to finish off the race. He's in 5th place and Neville Lance right behind him in 6th, so that's a dicey position.
Yes, I think Kim really will be pleased that he got as far as he did, but he should have a little chat to himself tonight about just being a little bit overly zealous at the wrong time.
I'm sure that he'll reflect and look back at some of the things in the race and, you know, I wish that hadn't happened. But that's just the way it is. It's what this sort of racing's all about. Matthew White, on the other hand, did his fastest lap 14 laps into the race. You know, great job by young Matthew White, and I think in this class he's probably one of the stars of the future.
NASCAR racing, born in this country in 1988 thanks to Bob Jane.
And here we have Ken James, who we saw just brush up against the wall earlier. You see the tyres are a bit wide on the inside. That's a legacy of that wide paint.
Across the line, he runs. We'll update you on the full race score shortly. Repeating though, Ingall winning by 4.1 seconds to Kim Jane, then 17 seconds back to young Matthew White, who ultimately finished 3rd on the racetrack. Car 95 now cruises across the start-finish line. Bob Middleton, another Victorian, started out of position 12 and finished 9th on the racetrack, so some progress there. They really did spread out in the latter stages. Ingall would have enjoyed that, Brad. I mean, obviously something of a challenge, despite his obvious prowess in a race car. They are a real handful.
They are a real handful, and one thing's for sure, if you're a racer, it doesn't matter whether you win a go-kart derby or a Bathurst 1000, you're pretty happy.
Let's update them for you now as we look at Todd Wanless stranded in the sand at the top of the mountain. Russell Ingall, the winner in the Chevy Monte Carlo, followed across the line by Kim Jane. Matthew White 3rd. Then the Ford Thunderbird of Terry Wyhoon. Marshall Brewer in the Monte Carlo was the man finishing 5th on the racetrack, ahead of Neville Lance, who'll probably be satisfied with 6 after all the problems. Ken James 7th, then Graham Smith, Bob Middleton, and Wollongong's Terry Byers finishing just inside the top 10.
NASCAR's cars with attitude, I think David Tapp called them. You know, the attitude of a wild bull. But what about Russell Ingall? By gee, he's a talented man. He's in the fastest qualifying vector for the Bathurst 1000 here this year. He's a former Bathurst 1000 winner. He's been a former Australian Formula Ford champion. He's won open-wheeler races in England, and he can win in NASCARs as well. A real talent. We'll be back for the presentation after the NASCAR 100 following this break. Welcome back to Motorsport Heaven, Mount Panorama. Jim Richards certainly thinks so. 5-time form winner here and also among the fastest qualifiers for this year's Bathurst 1000. Well, the NASCARs, they are king of the Calder Park Thunderdome in Melbourne, but they've also conquered Mount Panorama today. Let's go to the presentation now with Pat Welsh.
Gary, thank you very much. With me, Bob Jane. Bob, it was a great day out, wasn't it? Plenty of exciting racing.
Yes, a few. I see my son parked up there by the wall at the top of the mountain, so that was interesting. Kim had a couple of moments, but it was a great race for the first time, or many of the drivers was their first time at the mountain, so they did very well. Russell Ingall, of course, is to drive very shortly with the Super Tourers in their final practice session. He can't be with us, but you have a healthy cheque to go his way. Yeah, we have a cheque here for $9,000 for Russell as first place, and we'll give it to him later. And we have here this rather good trophy.
Magnificent trophy, yes.
Which we'll also give to Russell after he's been out in the 2-litre car. So Russell's been Mr. Versatile today.
Here we go, he is coming through. Russ, congratulations. There's a little cheque there from Bob.
He doesn't need the money, really.
I know you're very busy, but just a couple of quick words. Fun or hard work?
Both. Towards the end there, as predicted, the brakes got a little bit spongy and the tyres started to go off, and Kim was putting the pressure on me. I tell you, I thought I was going to have a bit of a cruisy run, but he got a real good pit stop, collected us up, and it's pushed me hard there for a while.
That's right, just after that pit stop, you came very close together. It was exciting racing.
Absolutely. No, it should be interesting on the ovals, I think. I think he's going to teach me a lesson or two.
Now, I don't want to put any more pressure on you, but we're just looking at the statistics very quickly. I don't think anyone has won one of our major support races and the big one on Sunday. That'd be a lovely scenario for you, wouldn't it?
It would be. That's what I said to the boys back in the pit. I said, one down, one to go.
Best of luck, and I know you've got more work to do this afternoon. Thanks for talking to us. Great try.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Kim, as we said, you came very, very close there for a while just after that pit stop, and just that little touch at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, well, we had a good pit stop and came out behind Russ, and I suppose a bit of inexperience on road circuits, just trying too hard. When he dived under Neville Lance in Forest Elbow, I just tried a little bit hard and pushed into the side of Neville. There was no fault of Neville's, it was all mine, and it came unstuck, so lost the time that we'd made up on him. So sorry to the team, they did such a great job in the pits, and I'd just like to thank Bob Jane Telecommunications and Vodafone and all the people who are supporting us up here this weekend. Thanks.
All right, Bob, presentations for both Kim and Matthew.
Yeah, congratulations, Kim. Kim's my nephew, not my son, as I'd like to have him as a son, but he's my brother's son. And Matthew White here third, he's a good friend of my son, went to school with him, so congratulations. You did a very good job. First time on the mountain, first time in a road race.
First time in a NASCAR.
First time in a NASCAR?
First time in a NASCAR. So I'd really like to thank Peter Sportelli, Ian Thomas and all the guys for putting together such a fantastic car. Bob Jane for giving us this opportunity, because it's absolutely fantastic and I loved every minute of it. I'd also like to thank my sponsors, MaxiCube, Freighter, PPG and Bridgestone. Thank you very much.
Got them all in. You spoke like a pro. Matthew White, Kim Jane also second today, and Russell Ingle dashing off to join in the final qualifying for the Super Tourist. And Bob, thank you very much for sponsoring and bringing the big cars to the mountain.
Thanks, Channel 7, and thank you all.
Pleasure. Gary, back to you.
Thanks, Paddy. Great to see Bob Jane out and about and looking fit and well too. He's had a pretty rough trot, Bob, and good to see him back here at Mount Panorama with the NASCAR as part of the rich panoply of motorsport to Mount Panorama this weekend. By the way, if you are into motorsport,